back again for another Saturday morning. Wait.
Yeah.
Something's different. What's different?
It is.
I'm here by myself.
Well, not completely by yourself.
Well, that's
you got
true.
me over here. I mean,
I've got you, babe. Oh, I shouldn't sing? No?
No.
No. Okay. Chris said I shouldn't sing. It's Chris behind the scenes over there. He's the one doing all the fancy movement and stuff like that and tell me when I need to go to commercial or when we need to do such stuff. But do let me say this. I'm glad to be back here this Saturday morning. We've been off for about 3 weeks because of the stuff that happened with Sinclair Network. So we're glad to be back, aren't we, Chris?
Yes, sir, we are.
And as you notice, Jimmy's not with us anymore. So we're looking for a host. If you feel like you want to be a host with the mostest right here on Armchair Sports, feel free to give us a call at 229-262-8182. That's 229-262-8182. You can call me or Chris is in the office all the time. Just call, leave a message. Chris will call you back and set up an appointment. Again, we're looking for hosts, so we'd like to see if you'd like to be on. Like to have you. Just give us a call. Or you can go to our website, right, Chris?
That's right.
At thearmchairsports.com.
.com, yes, sir.
This goes on to all our podcasts, too, doesn't it, Chris?
That's right.
So we've got podcast galore. We've got all kinds of other things going on. We have our high school show that's on Tuesday night from 6 to whenever we decide to stop. That's on all the podcasts and also our YouTube page. Don't forget to go to our YouTube page. Sign up, and then we also have right here on Channel 40, right out of Tallahassee. Anything else, Chris? You want to talk about? You want to get to anything you want to say?
Yeah, you can find us at the Armchair Sports Talk Show on Facebook, and it's also the Armchair Sports Talk Show at YouTube, and Twitter is Armchair Spo 2.
Armchair
what? Kind of different. Yeah.
Armchair Spo?
Yeah, S-P-O. You know, Twitter, they like to shorten everything. I don't get it, but whatever.
Armchair Spo. Let's do it. Armchair Spo on Twitter.
That's
all right. Let's do it. So I'll tell you what. It's Saturday morning. We're getting into the latter part of the year. BCS polls are coming out now. We're going to start getting into some of the playoff. People are talking a lot about playoffs. So we're going to talk a little bit about it right now. Couple things I want to get out of the way, some kind of housekeeping things is basketball season's coming up. Basketball season, we're starting to get into it, and they're starting to flare up on the court. I guess they're ready to go because the NBA has already suspended one player, has already fined one player $50,000, fined another player $50,000, and fined another one for $30,000. I don't know if anybody saw it this past week. Yeah. It's there was a basketball game, of course, and it was against the Heat and Joker's team. Anyway, and Joker was going down the court, and he got fouled really hard. He kind of hip checked, and when he got hip checked, he took offense to it, and he went back. And me personally, it was a cheap shot because it was behind his back. He should have done it to his face. But he took the elbow and crammed it right into the back of his back, and the dude went on the floor, and he's out. He's out with whiplash right now. But Jokic was suspended and $50,000 fine, and Miami Heat's Morris and Butler. Morris was fined $50,000, but he was not suspended. And Butler was fined $30,000 because he attempted to escalate the situation after it was over with. In other words, running that mouth. That's what they do in basketball. They do a lot of mouth running.
They do.
But the thing that's really funny now is if you haven't seen it, go to Twitter. Go to the Jokic brothers or the Morris brothers. They're now having a Twitter fest. All the brothers back and forth.
Really?
The Jokic brothers and then the Morris brothers. Everybody's talking about that would be one hell of an MMA fight. Oh yeah, we'll have a tag team MMA. You know that'd be pretty cool. But anyway, it's Saturday morning, so let's talk about some football. Okay. First things first. So the rankings come out this week, and of course you got Georgia on top. Then you got Alabama at number 2, right? So you got Alabama at number 2, Georgia at number 1. If you look at the way the brackets are set up, you've got Ohio State at number 4 and Oregon at number 3. What does that mean? That means if we were to play right now, the Final Four, Alabama would play Oregon, and Georgia would play Ohio State. Now, Cincinnati's pretty mad because Cincinnati bounced back and Ohio bounced out, and Ohio jumped in. And I can go on my Kirk Herbstreit kick about how I think that he influences it. If you watch the show on Tuesday night, then you'll know that he was kind of giggly when Ohio State was put into number 4. So, but then you got Michigan at number 5. Cincinnati at number 5, Michigan at number 6, and Michigan State at number 7. And I will have to agree with most people are saying if Cincinnati will just bide their time, I think what you're going to find out is you're going to find out that Oregon or Ohio State are going to get beat. And if they get beat, then Cincinnati's sitting pretty right on the outside, which is great. That's where you want to be about this time. Because as long as you win and your destiny is, you've got your fate is destiny. I don't know if that's how you say it, Chris. But if you just sit there on the verge and you wait for one of those teams to come out and you take care of business in your place. Because I'm going to tell you something, nobody's played really well. Nobody's had a great game. This past week, the only people that should be where they're at is, if I'm being truthful, it has to be Georgia. Georgia just walloped everybody, but everybody else was playing within a 10-point ball game, and they just didn't look that good. So, as I said at the very beginning of the football season, all these polls don't make a hill of beans. And we're going to go through that in just a second, because what I did was I compiled each one of the polls from CBS to who else is it? Oh, you got the CBS, the AP poll, the coaches poll, and we got the regular poll. So I've got this week's every one of those polls, and I put them together. And I want to just look and see what the differences are, and I'll show you what the differences are and see how ridiculous this actually is, because it's just everything's all over the map, except for the top 2. What people don't realize that are in the SEC, the top 2. So Alabama or Georgia and Alabama, it's destiny. Unless Auburn beats Alabama or Alabama loses to any of the 3 teams that they have to play next, then the way they played against LSU was not great, which means they're beatable. They played the same way against Florida, just barely won. Look at Florida; they've only won 4 games. They lost to South Carolina this week. So that tells me that Alabama's not as good. As I said at the beginning of the year, Alabama is going to be they're on their downtrodden. I think this year, next year, and the year after, I think you're going to see them. They're going to be mediocre. Here's your problem right now, though. Alabama's going to play Georgia in the SEC tournament. Let's say everything stays just the way it is. If Alabama plays Georgia, does Alabama fall out of the top 5, out of the top 4, into number 5? Or does Alabama move back to number 3 or 4 because they lost to the number 1 team? It's only going to give them 1 loss. So the question is Alabama sitting pretty right now to make the Final Four? Some people say yes. Some people say this is exactly where Alabama needs to be. If Georgia loses, does Georgia pop back to the 4 or to the 3, or do they get to number 5?
Well, doesn't it also depend upon who they play?
Well, yeah, but in the SEC tournament, they're going to be playing each other.
Oh, yeah.
So if both of them make it to
top-ranked teams playing against each other,
right? So if those two teams actually play each other, then does one team get booted back to number 5, or because they're top 2, do they only go to 3 and 4? That's the big question right now. And I called this, if everybody will sit back and go back to episodes, 38, 37, something like that, you'll see that at the beginning of the year, this is exactly the scenario that I said would probably happen. And if it did, either Alabama or Georgia, they're going to be either just on the cusp of being in or just on the outs. I don't see anybody that can come in and take their place. So I don't know that Cincinnati, if Alabama loses and or Georgia loses, I don't see Cincinnati taking their place. I really don't, Chris.
Yeah.
Because that means you're going to move Oregon. If everybody stays the same and nobody loses, Oregon's going to move up. Ohio State's going to move up. Are you going to put Alabama or Georgia behind Cincinnati? You're just not going to do it because of the strength of schedule.
Yeah.
Now, if Cincinnati wins out, I don't know. And then you've got Michigan and Michigan State, which you're going to go back and forth with those two all day long.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the interesting scenario that we're looking at. And I don't know if either one of them are going to be worth it. So, I mean, let's just let it play out and see what happens. But I think right now what everybody's looking at is Georgia, Alabama. Now, Alabama's not playing well. If Auburn can come up and beat them, then you're gonna see everybody shake up. And the best thing for Alabama is not to lose. But again, that's the best thing for everybody, I guess, right? You don't lose. That's what you're in there for.
Yeah, that's part of the game.
That's part of the game. You're right. All right, so what I want to do is right now we're going to go over some of the scores from last week, and then we're going to get into the I was telling you about the polls, and we're looking at probably we've got 3 more weeks until the end, and then you got 2 weeks after that, so we've got about 5 more weeks till the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
All right, and that's going to be a big one. I think all eyes are going to be on Atlanta that day. All right, so Georgia had no problem. They're number one. They had no problem beating up on Missouri at 43-6. Georgia was moving the ball. Georgia was doing everything that they needed to do. Georgia's defense is just downright awesome. The number 99, he is right now, if I'm not mistaken, they're considering the first defensive line ever for the Heisman Trophy winner. Wow. He's in consideration. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but he's saying the whole thing is when you look at the Heisman Trophy, who out there right now is doing anything bigger for their team than him? I mean, overall, he's got 186 tackles or whatever it is. So, and that's of course overall, but right there's nobody that's doing anything any better for their team. So, I mean, as when from Michigan State when Charles Woodson won it, and I think as of right now he has to be the front runner because nobody's running on Georgia, LSU and Alabama. That was really a good ball game, and I thought going in to the fourth quarter, I thought maybe Alabama or LSU would come back and score in the fourth quarter, but they could not get it together, and Alabama, they held up when they needed to hold up.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, they went from, it was 14-0 or 14-20 going into the fourth quarter, and nobody scored. So the question is,
so they have a good defense.
That's an LSU team. But see, that's LSU. But does Alabama really? They let LSU have 14 points.
Yeah, true.
So so that's what I'm talking about when it comes down to teams that are just not playing the way that they should be playing. It's like Michigan State played Purdue. Michigan State lost 40-29.
Wow.
Now Michigan State was supposedly ranked number 3 in the nation. And then they lost by 10 to 11 points. And if you look at when the scoring took place, most of it was in the second quarter. Well, there was 10 in Purdue scored 10 in the third
yep.
and 9 in the fourth. And Purdue Michigan State just couldn't do anything. But you're going to bump them back to play to number 7? I don't know that I agree with that. They should have been way further back than that. Unless the top 6 teams are that close and everybody else behind them are that far back.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can actually see in that. Well, then you've got
right.
Oregon. Oregon played Washington, and you got Oregon at 26 and Washington 16. So what does that mean? That means that Oregon has a pretty explosive offense, but their defense has given up 16 points, and they scored in the fourth quarter. So
yeah,
I mean, so you're looking at does Oregon really belong up there at number 4, number 3?
I don't think so. I think those are pretty. I think those numbers are kind of skewed too, though.
Do what now?
I think those numbers got to be skewed somehow.
But that's just it. I think what they're doing is they're looking at, there's a duck in my pocket somewhere. I think that's
Speaking of ducks, it's time for us to duck out for just a moment.
Oh, so, okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Then I can kind of catch the duck over here.
All right. Here we go.
Need a website for your business? Let Shadowfox Design help. We will design and build your website so you have more time for your business. We will help with all your online needs so you have more time for your customers. Learn more and get started now by going to www.shadowfox.design.
Chris, you were just saying, and we were just talking about Oregon and Washington, but you were just saying in the break, what was that?
Yeah, you don't even hear about them over here in the southeast, Oregon and Washington State. You don't hardly hear about those at all, nor some of the other ones like. Occasionally you hear Ohio State,
Yeah,
of course,
but they're always. That's because Carter Herbstreit just sits there all the time and mouths off about Ohio State.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just have to grind. That's a torch I got to grind. But and I completely agree with you. That's you don't hear about unless they're up there in the top. You don't hear anything about them. It says, how are the Ducks this week? Well, mine was quacking just a second ago.
Well, and my question is, okay. SEC, it's the Southeastern Conference, right? Mm-hmm. How does Oregon and, Washington State get into the Southeastern Conference?
They're not in the Southeast. Yeah, this is how you know Chris doesn't know anything about football.
Anything about football.
Nothing. He's trying to
but I'm learning.
He's getting there. So he just asked the question is, how does Oregon and who?
Washington State
get into the Southeastern Conference? They're not in the Southeastern Conference.
Why are they in the polls?
Because this is a poll for all.
Over. Gotcha.
This is the national poll.
Oh, okay.
This is not a Southeastern Conference poll.
Okay.
This is a national poll. They set national polls. See, he's learning on the go. Look at this. He is an IT guy. What does that tell you?
I'm a nerd.
He's a nerd. He stays on the computer. He's always on the. If you need a blacklist, the show Blacklist. He's the guy. Anyway,
I wouldn't go that far, but thanks.
You're welcome. All right, back to the non-Southeastern Conference here.
Yeah.
So you got Ohio State and Nebraska. Look, Ohio State did not win convincingly. They did win 26-7, but again, they put on 3 points at the end. So right there at the end, so you're looking at it's really 23-17, and. That was a close game. So do they deserve to be up there? And they're playing Nebraska, which is a non-ranked team. And then you got Cincinnati, who's I want to be in. We should be in. We should be in the top, whatever. But then they played Tulsa last week, 28-20. So the question is, they were literally losing they were ahead at halftime, 14-12, and then Cincinnati put another 14 points on the board. And Tulsa came back and put another 8. So they were letting Tulsa back in the ball game. We won't go much deeper into it, but you've got all the other scores from the past week, which was Indiana and Michigan. I do want to talk about Wake Forest a minute. The loss that Wake Forest had, which is number 9, and I kept saying Wake Forest is a pretty good team, and they're still going to be in the ACC.
That was a close game.
Championship. It was a close game, but there was no defense. 55-58 last night.
Yeah.
So the question is, Wake Forest was 5-0 going into this game. North Carolina's 3-3 going into that game. So that means Wake Forest, although they did lose, they're still the top of the ACC. Huh. So it's one of those things. If Florida State could have kept on, and I'm gonna circle back to Florida State in a little bit, but if Florida State could have hung on in some of these games that they've played, they would be right there at the top, and they're only losing by 2 or 3 points. So, all right, we're actually gonna move on to the what I want to do is to look at the polls real quick. So what we have is we have the college football rankings. All right, we've got last week's college football rankings, this week's college football rankings, CBS Sports coaches poll, and the AP poll. Okay? So the question I have here, why such a difference? Because let's look across the board. In the coaches poll, they have Georgia number 1, CBS poll, Georgia number 1, unanimous across the board, Georgia number 1. All right, that was last weekend this week. So now we have Alabama across this week, completely across the board. Alabama was number 2.
Well, except for the AP.
And they had Alabama. I don't have the AP. Which one was it in the AP? Where were they?
Number 3.
All right, so they had. See, there's what I'm getting at. You got to. So see there, Chris. You're helping me out here. So you've got.
Well, I can figure out data.
You can. Well, that's right, because you're a data nerd. I forgot about that. So you've got the AP poll. See, that's the rankings. I don't have the AP poll with me, so.
Oh, you don't have that one?
No, so you're going to do the AP poll for me. Okay. There you go. You'll do the AP poll.
All right.
Oh no, that's the AP poll for last week, though, isn't it?
Oh.
Alabama at number 3, Cincinnati. Yeah, that's last week's AP poll.
Yeah, okay, my bad.
Or is that this week's AP poll? No, that's last week's AP poll. Because here's my problem. You've got at 9-0, last week's AP poll, they have Cincinnati, correct? Everybody consistently across the board has Cincinnati at number 5 this week. You're telling me Cincinnati was so bad that they fell 3 spots? Or did everybody adjust to that because that's the way the BCS poll or the power or the actual playoff rankings has them for the Final Four? So if you're looking at what's going on, the coaches poll and the AP poll, which is the Associated Press, and these other polls, they're conforming to the SEC. I'm not SEC. Now you got me saying SEC. The BCS poll. They're all conforming to the BCS poll, and they're moving everybody back into it, back into where the BCS says the same thing. So that's what I've been saying since the beginning. I don't understand why we have polls. It's because of ratings, and we need people to talk about them and all that other stuff at the beginning of the year. So, but right now, everybody's consistent with Alabama. All right, and then last week, the AP poll, you had Oklahoma at number 4, which they're still at number 4 on the coaches poll. They're at number 3 on the CBS poll. They're at number 4 on the actual playoff rankings poll. So, where should they be? Is Oklahoma should Oklahoma be there, or should Oklahoma be further back? I don't know.
Yeah,
that is the big question, and they have.
I mean, it's like they're comparing different data sets.
Exactly, because if you look at the college playoff poll, Oklahoma's at number 8.
Yeah.
So the playoff poll, Oklahoma's at 8, and in the CBS poll, they're at 3, and the coaches poll, they're at number 10. And last week, consistently around the board, they had them at number 4. So where's the consistency? There really isn't any. So everybody's starting to conform to this other one where Oklahoma's at number 8. CBS poll still has them at number 3. I just don't see, and the coaches poll has them at number 4. And the AP last week had them at number 4 too. So I don't understand the way they configure this, or if they're all just adjusting and somebody's seeing something that I'm not seeing, and that is the whole deal on why I don't like the rankings. I think they're a waste. I think you have 15 different polls, you have 15 different people, you have 15 different things. In Oklahoma, in one poll is 10, and in the other poll is number 4. Does it make any sense? No.
Is there one poll now that like
everybody
joins all the polls together and ranks off
what
of
it
that?
is that what it is the BCS poll comes along, and that's what they follow. It's at what it is you got a bunch of people that sit in a room.
Yeah.
They take all statistical data, people like yourself. They take all the statistical data, and then there's people that sit there and they talk about each one of these teams. They watch. They've got a room, and they watch all these football games. Each person in that room. And they watch all the football games all week, and then they come in there and they put all the statistics in, and then they make a decision on who they feel should be where. The problem with that is when you start doing that, you're taking everything else out of context, but this is the way it's set up. This is why everybody's calling for a 16 or a 24 or a 32-team playoff.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have a 32-team playoff? It has to do with money. They don't want to give up the bowl money, but the bowls could stay exactly the same and just fill them in with the playoffs and put them in the playoff spots. Mm-hmm. You would just have to run them in individual weeks leading up to the top 4, and then boom, you got it. It wouldn't make it any longer or any shorter because you're playing the bowls anyway.
Right.
You're not playing a national championship game till after the first of the year anyway. So the question is, when's somebody going to smarten up? When's everybody going to listen? And the problem is nobody's able to tell them what to do or where to come from because,
well, there's too many chiefs.
There's too many. You're right. There's too many people that want to do too many things. There's too many different. There's the Big Ten, the Pac-10, the Pac-12, the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, the ESP, the PPA, the SDD. You know, so
I can understand. You know, back 50 years ago, when you were trying to watch TV and you watch football, and certain ones were in certain areas.
Right.
But now you can watch anything you want, anytime you want. So why can't they just conglomerate all of them
that's a great argument. I've never heard anybody make that argument before, but that is really a great argument because when they didn't have all this stuff, what did you have? You had antennas outside your house.
Yep, and you could only pick up certain stations.
Right. So so let's keep ABC in the southeastern regions. It's let's say Tallahassee, this station right here. Well, we're going to play Tallahassee because everybody around here wants to see Tallahassee.
Yeah.
So Tallahassee would be on NBC or ABC that you could see over the airways.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started having your media conglomerates getting in on it. And then you had your ESPN, which is now owned by Disney. And they're actually closing, by the way. ESPN Classic will close January the 1st. They will completely shut ESPN Classic down.
Yeah.
There was no reason for them to have it up because who sits and watches a game from 1985 except for somebody who played in 1985.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a market for it, but that'd be in your retirement villages more than likely.
There you go, and there's not enough retirement villages out there right now.
And I mean, unfortunately, the baby boomers, their generation is starting to,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so I mean, it has to move more in the times, and I guess that's why Disney decided that's what they were going to do.
Well, and they're trying to get the younger generations more involved with this kind of stuff, too, because, I mean, there's so much out there now that the younger generations are interested in esports and stuff now,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. I mean, and it's just like we've been preaching on the show before. It's just not about football anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Southeast Georgia, from high school to college to professionals, there's really no team professionally around here. We'll circle back to that in the next half hour, but because everybody has to go to Jacksonville, everybody has to go to Atlanta or Tampa or New Orleans.
Aren't there still some semi-professional teams around here, though?
Yeah, well, not around here. Well, there are, but there's none that are really, really predominant in this area.
Oh, okay.
You still have the arena leagues and all those other things.
Oh, yeah.
But and that's in Jacksonville. There's nothing. I think they don't have an arena league in Tallahassee.
I know there was one here in Valdosta for a while because my cousin used to play with their team.
Yeah,
so it was
that was a semi-pro.
Semi-pro team,
right.
Yeah.
And basically that just kind of fizzled out. But now you've got another football. I think it's whatever it is coming back, the XFL or something's coming back up in January or something like starting 2022.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see if it comes back, and they keep coming in, and then they keep dying out, coming back and dying out.
Yeah.
Because maybe they got their stuff right this time, and I bet you Steve Spurrier's not in it. So let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about, and I didn't give you any notes on this one, Chris.
That's all right. Before we do that,
yeah,
we got some bills to pay.
Oh, well, then I tell you what. Then we'll circle back to that, and we're gonna move on to pros after this. We're gonna talk Florida State and Florida because they're coming up in about 3 weeks. So we're gonna talk. Then when we come back, and we're gonna move on to the pros. So we'll circle back in just a second.
Research less and relax more with eTravel Anytime. Let us help you decide which Sandals destination is best for your romantic getaway, or help you choose the family resort that is best for your vacation. We can also help you decide which cruise is best for you and your family. Tell us your preferences and we can narrow down your choices. Contact us today so we can help you plan your next vacation. Call 229-300-3691. Need a website for your business? Let Shadowfox Design help. We will design and build your website so you have more time for your business. We will help with all your online needs so you have more time for your customers. Learn more and get started now by going to www.shadowfox.design.
Most of the people in this area kind of want to talk about Florida State. So,
I don't know. I kind of have to beg to differ with you there because more and more I've seen a lot of Florida Gator fans in this area. Yeah. I would say, if anything, it's probably split in half.
Even though
there's a lot of people from mid and South Florida moving to North Florida because of whatever, there's a lot of population going on down there from people way up north coming down to mid and South Florida, and a lot of people from mid and South Florida are like, well, we want to get back out into the country.
Yeah.
And they're coming up here,
So the question is, so what you're thinking is, although we're in Tallahassee,
yeah,
now this is the TV station, is in Tallahassee. The TV station is Florida State football.
Yeah.
You seem to think, even though we have the Florida State College right here,
University.
University, same difference. Well, actually, no, they'll beg to differ. Yeah, you're right. I better say that right. So the Florida State.
I'm a nerd, remember?
Yeah, that's right. You get analytics properly. So let me listen to my guy over here. So I don't know, dude. I think. And especially in this area, because you have Florida State. Now, once you start getting further down towards Keaton Beach and those areas over there that we cover, and you start getting up towards where we're at here in Valdosta, you start seeing more Gators. Now, we're not talking about Bulldogs and versus we're talking Gators versus Florida State right now. Seminoles versus Gators. Because look, in 3 weeks we got that game coming.
Yeah,
that game's coming up in 3 weeks. So
it should be exciting too.
If these two teams can hold it together, the problem is Florida doesn't seem to be able to hold anything together. They just fired which is great. They just fired their offensive coordinator. They fired their defensive coordinator. They kept their offensive coordinator, but they fired their offensive line coach. So what's happening right now is. Let me read you a couple things here. The Sanford, Missouri, and the Florida State games is what we have left. The straw that broke the camel's back is the loss against South Carolina, and the reason was because there was literally no defense on the field. They just ran up and down the field. It's because of the schemes, and they were throwing over the middle and running right up the middle. So they decided Todd Grantham had to go. They let him go. John Harley, the offensive line. They only ran, I think it was 84 yards is all they ran. So I think it was a good move. I think it was one of the best moves. They should have made it a little earlier, and you'd have probably seen the difference. So what Florida's moving, their special assistant to the head coach, he's now going to be moved down on the field. So he'll be taking some kind of rollover in that. And just remember, though, Grantham came over with Mullen from Mississippi State when he got hired here in 2018. So they've been together for a long time. It's and so how is Mullen? Is it because Mullen was on the hot seat? Yeah, probably. He said, I got to make something happen before it's me.
Yeah.
So I completely agree, and I agree with the situation. And I think what they're doing is they're going to take Robinson. He's a former linebackers coach, and he's going to replace right now. He's going to replace the defensive coordinator until they can get into the offseason. They desperately need to get to 500 at least to get a bowl. So they've got to win these last three, which comes into Florida State and Florida. And we're going to transition to Florida State now. I do believe Florida State, if they can continue what they're doing, that last game, the Florida State game, may come down to who's going to actually get a bowl game and who's not. Let's face
Gators.
it. Yeah, well, you're a Gator fan. Look, I understand where you're coming from because I'm.
That's about the only team that I follow. So.
Oh, is it really?
A little bit.
So, well, you look at Florida State. Florida State actually has been in many of the ball games.
Yeah.
Every quarter, only until the second. What I'm trying to say is, Florida State is playing good football. Their problem is they're sporadic on how their offensive is going to run. If they can get their offensive keys down to the game, their opponents are scoring 26 or less points usually. So their defense is not bad, but their offense is not scoring anything. So I think they needed to bring in.
Well, you got to have an offense to score.
Really? Is that how that works? See, he's learning the game pretty quick, folks. So, wait, you got me all choked up with that one. All right, anyway.
You're proud of me. I get it. You're proud of me.
I'm proud of you. He figured that one out pretty quick, all on his own.
I'm pretty good at the obvious, right?
So, yeah. So the thing is, does Florida State game mean anything? Yeah, I think it's going to mean something. I think what it's going to mean is who's actually going to go to a bowl game.
Yeah.
And they may, if both of them could get to that point, that means what? Florida's only won 4 games, so if they get 2 more games on about that 6 games, they're over 500. Florida State could be the difference in $1 million payday and $100,000 payday as far as what bowl you go to.
That's true.
The other one is, Florida State in the same position, 4 wins, 5 wins. Are you gonna, you win the next 2, lose the next 2? Florida game could be.
I don't know. You're telling me that they're going to lose the next 2.
Who? Florida State or Florida?
You were saying Florida doesn't have the offense, right?
Well, yeah. No, Florida didn't have any defense.
Oh.
Florida doesn't have any defense, and they're playing 2 quarterbacks because they're going with Richardson and Jones back to back. So they're back and forth on them. They can't make a decision on who they want to play there. Inconsistency. They can't run the ball. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. Those are things you have to do to win a ball game. You have to stop the run. You have to stop the pass. And you have to be able to run the ball.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's transition this over into the NFL.
NFL. Something I know even less about.
Well, you really don't need to know much, and we're not going to get political on this. So, the Aaron Rodgers story, where Aaron Rodgers said that he was immunized, not vaccinated. He said he was immunized, and he didn't wear a mask as per protocol, which was by the Players Association.
Was he speaking that he had natural immunity?
No, he was immunized by, and he had consultant. Well, we'll get to that in just a second because I have got a big problem with this. So I don't care if you want to get COVID shot or not. That's totally up to you. That's a political issue. I'm not going to. I care if you give me COVID. Because I don't want to get COVID.
No.
But if you don't want to get it, that's your opinion. Just make sure you protect yourself from other people.
Sure.
So what happened, just so I don't know if you've read or you've seen or you heard because you don't follow football, but Aaron Rodgers said that he was immunized back in, there was a question that was asked to him, and he hasn't been walking around the facilities with a mask, and they said anybody that has not been immunized has not had their COVID shots, then they have to be tested 3 times a week, I think it was, and they have to wear a mask in the facilities of any NFL facility. So Aaron Rodgers caught COVID. He will not play until this week. Is supposed to be this coming Saturday, which would be today, and he should be able to play tomorrow. So the question is, was he truthful? Was him being immunized? How do you say that? Immunized. Was he immunized from the vaccine? What he's saying is he was, and he consulted Joe Rogan. Now, you don't know Joe Rogan?
I know who Joe Rogan is. And he's saying that he took the...
He's saying he followed him, and he followed his direction. Joe Rogan's direction.
Yeah, no, Joe Rogan's not a doctor, and Joe Rogan will tell you he's not a doctor. He said, I recommend this, but you need to consult your doctor.
Well, and see, that's just it. And I'm that way, and we've had in this office, in the studio, we've had conversations about this. Because I'm not going to say who or where or what or when, but one of us has been immunized and one of us hasn't. Or one has had the vaccine and one hasn't. So it's one of those things that it's your decision. Don't put it off on me. Don't say that, but really consult a doctor. Don't consult an MMA guru.
No.
I mean, he's not the one that actually is going to be giving you the shots and stuff anyway. So Aaron Rodgers is being penalized. He's getting he's being fined. He won't miss any ball games, but that one last week. So my whole thing there would be Aaron Rodgers is just playing dumb for the way he handled the whole situation.
Sure.
He should have followed the directions. Well, if he didn't want to do it, the Players Association and the NFL agreed on this whole policy.
Yep.
And he is part of the Players Association.
Unfortunately, the employers make the rules. You must abide by them. If you don't want to, that's fine. You don't have to, but you can no longer be there.
Right.
It's pretty plain and simple, if you ask me.
Right. And I agree completely with you.
Yeah.
You want a job, do what you're told to do.
And if you don't want to, find something else.
Exactly. You're exactly right. Go into a job that you want to do. So, all right, well, let's get off of that and let's go look at some scores real quick from last week. So we've got scores we're going to have. They don't play till tomorrow. And then, let's face it, 3 weeks from now, we're going to have NFL football Saturday and Sunday. So the Jets lost to the Colts 45-30. The Browns, and we don't really care about all these people. Well, yeah, you do. The Browns actually beat the Bengals without Odell Beckham. Now,
aren't they both in Cincinnati? No, Cleveland.
One's in Cleveland. They're all in Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah, so one's in southern Ohio and the other one's in northern. So that's a big rivalry.
Ooh, a north-south rivalry.
Yeah, exactly. But the big story in that is Odell Beckham was released, which is, just so you know, Odell Beckham was probably one of the premier receivers in the NFL, and he was with another team, and they picked him up, and they had like a $7 million. He has a $7 million contract. Wow. And they released him. They have to still pay him $4 million, but Cleveland loses that $3 million off of that. So it's like $3 million in their pocket. Wow. So they let him go and severed the $7 million, and they're going to keep $3 million. He's going to get the $4 million. And he cleared waivers, so he's going on the team and he's doing what he's got to do. So that's the big story. But Cleveland didn't need him. That's the whole point. That's what this is all about. Cleveland did not need him. They have not used him in a while. They have not thrown to him. Odell Beckham's daddy said that. He proved it. That's fine. Move on and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Then you got the Broncos and the Cowboys. I'm telling you, everybody is so hot on these Cowboys. I just don't
It's
see
the
it.
cheerleaders. That's all people.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, it's people like you that don't know anything. You know, did y'all see? Did y'all hear? He don't know nothing about football, but he sure knew about them cheerleaders, didn't he? For sure. Anyway, it's all about the cheerleaders coming from an IT guy. Okay. All right, let's go down to the Dolphins. Now, there was rumor that Deshaun Watson was going to go to the Dolphins, and then there was rumor that Tua had been released. Neither one of them are true. Tua is still with the Dolphins. She's just injured. And the Dolphins said they were not going to pick up or trade the Texans for Deshaun Watson. That they wanted 2 or 3 first-round picks, and he's just not worth it. So
don't we have some ball players locally here that are going to the Dolphins? At least one?
Going to the Dolphins for what?
Going to play for the Dolphins.
Oh, no. What you're thinking about, see, this is where his inexperience comes in. He's going to play for the Miami Hurricanes, which is a NCAA college football team. Which is the Lowndes County High School quarterback. He's going to be going down to Miami to play for the Hurricanes.
I remember us talking to him. I just forgot where he was going.
Yeah, he was in the studio.
I knew it was Miami, though.
Yeah, you did. You got the right city anyway.
I got the right city anyway.
we give him bonus points for even getting it in the vicinity, guys. And then you have the Falcons and the Saints. To me, this was a big deal. Why do you ask? Because the arch nemesis of Atlanta has been New Orleans.
Right.
And now Atlanta beat New Orleans. The thing is,
that was a close game, though.
It was a close game, but Atlanta could have won by a whole lot more. They're just not using Matt Ryan like they should. And again, I am not sold on Matt Ryan as a Hall of Famer yet. I know a lot of people argue that, and I am just not sold on it. And, you can look at the numbers. He's 5th or 6th, this or that. And the way he's playing right now, I think Atlanta needs to move on from him, to be honest with you. Well, then you got the Raiders and the Giants, which really nobody around here cares about. With the Raiders, they do because they just fired their coach, too, or actually he just resigned. Then the Panthers and the Patriots. The Patriots won. Then you got the Jaguars and the Bills. I was at that ball game in the front row watching that ball game. That was probably one of the best ball games the Jacksonville Jaguars have ever played.
Really?
Yeah.
They haven't been around that long either, though, have they?
25 years, I think. Yeah,
About 25 years, yeah.
They haven't been around long.
Yeah.
They don't even have anybody in. Mark Brunell is the only one they've got in the Hall of Fame right now. Even if is he in? I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame because I know Baselli, which is a lineman, was their very first NFL draft pick, and he's up. He's been up for the last 3 years or 4 years, and he can't get into the NFL. So, he can't get into the Hall of
Fame.
Yeah. He keeps getting beat out. But that ball game, let me tell you something. All that was, and for people who say kickers don't mean anything, this right here was nothing but kickers. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they had 6 kicks.
Well, you can kind of tell by the score, can't you?
They missed 3 and hit 3, and one of them was the ball game.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, the score, all that was in this ball game was field goals. And somebody that says, which was our co-host before, used to say kickers don't mean anything to a ball game. This score right here tells you the total difference.
So what you're saying is they couldn't get any runs in.
No,
on either side.
No, they look. Let's just put it. Both of them were moving the ball, but once they got on the inside, the story last week was about the quarterback and the linebackers. The linebackers from Jacksonville and the quarterback from Buffalo. And the quarterback from Buffalo's name was Josh Allen. The linebacker's name from Jacksonville was Josh Allen. So what happened was Josh Allen, the linebacker, sacked Josh Allen, the quarterback. So what you have is a quarterback getting sacked, and over the intercom that they said Josh Allen just sacked Josh Allen, and that's only the second time that's ever happened in NFL history.
Wow.
Also, though, Josh Allen picked off Josh Allen, so the linebacker got an interception from Josh Allen. But that's not all. They went for the trifecta. there was a fumble from Josh Allen to Josh Allen.
Wow.
So the winner of the Josh Allens in that Josh Allen Bowl was Josh Allen from the Jacksonville Jaguars. But it was really amazing to sit there and watch Jacksonville. And for those people that don't think that Jacksonville could be that team or made a mistake with Trevor Lawrence, and I mean, you got to understand, you're giving a quarterback that's coming into the league, he's got to have time to get into the system.
Right.
And coming from the worst team in the NFL is where he went to when he was drafted.
Yeah.
So the question is Trevor Lawrence going to be that quarterback? I think given time he will. We're going to need to beef up the offensive line. Our defense played lights out. Our offense played horrible, but giving some credit to Trevor Lawrence to be able to get away from people and do some of the things the offensive line we had 3 penalties within 2 minutes of each other. And then one of them was a 15-yarder, one was 2 5-yarders. So you if you're going backwards, it's really hard to go forwards if you keep going backwards.
Research less and relax more with eTravel Anytime. Let us help you decide which Sandals destination is best for your romantic getaway, or help you choose the family resort that is best for your vacation. We can also help you decide which cruise is best for you and your family. Tell us your preferences and we can narrow down your choices. Contact us today so we can help you plan your next vacation. Call 229-300-3691. Need a website for your business? Let Shadowfox Design help. We will design and build your website so you have more time for your business. We will help with all your online needs so you have more time for your customers. Learn more and get started now by going to www.shadowfox.design.
So what I want to do now is we're going to move on real quick. I want to look at some stats, and people were talking about quarterbacks. Let's look at the quarterbacks. All right, Matt Ryan, right now, he's the only quarterback that Atlanta has that plays, and he's got 2,100 yards, 2,157 yards. Trevor Lawrence for Jacksonville has 1,821 yards. He's a rookie on a really bad team. But then you go look at Miami, who Jacksonville actually beat. They have 2 quarterbacks, which is Brissett and Tua. So if you look at what they have, 1,127 yards. So if you look at it that way, Trevor Lawrence is not doing too bad, if you think about it. So the problem right now is with Jacksonville, their running back is out. But Robinson, being out for 2 games, still has 482 yards. Versus Miami's Myles Gaskins for 313, and C.J. Patterson with 278. So Jacksonville's leading those 2 categories also. So then you look at tight end. Kyle Pitts. I'm telling you, Kyle Pitts is going to be a Pro Bowler his rookie year. They didn't throw to him for the first 3 games, and now he has 546 yards because they're consistently throwing to him now. He's having a monster season, and he didn't even get thrown to the first 3 games. But then you go over to Miami, their tight end has 529 yards. But he's been thrown to all year from 2 different quarterbacks. This is where Jacksonville has a problem. Jacksonville's tight end is not even on the scoreboard. When it comes to the best receiver with receiving yards, you got Marvin Jones for 399. Their receiver doesn't even have the same amount of as their tight ends do, which is really off the wall. Urban Meyer said Saturday in a press conference, last Tuesday in a press conference, he's going to get them more involved, the tight ends more involved. Let's see if he actually does that this week. If he does, that may be the difference in the Jacksonville's offense. Tighten up that line, but find you a tight end to go to. We just got the kid from up north. So, But then you look at the defense. Jacksonville just has a really good defense, and when it comes to the linebacking core and the front line, their cornerbacks are starting, and their safeties are starting to come around.
Aren't you supposed to get the ball to the tight end anyway?
Well, and
isn't that part of the deal?
It is, because let's face it, it's part of the deal, but it should be in your repertoire. How did New England win so many games? With Gronk and Brady. How did Tampa win the Super Bowl last year? With Gronk and Brady. Gronk is a tight end.
Yeah.
So that just showing a tight end, like you're saying, is a big part of the game.
Well, when I tried playing way back in the day,
Oh, way back. That was way back in the day.
That's what they put me as, a tight end. But I was small and I was fast.
Yeah.
And that's what the coach told me. Get the ball.
That's it. Catch it when it comes to you.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing right now is if you've got to have a tight end. In today's game, you have to have a tight end that can catch the ball. It's just obvious. The last 4 teams to win the Super Bowl had a tight end. You got Ertz. You've got Gronk. And he's been in 3 of the last 5. So
right.
But Gronk's actually, if he's been out, and I don't think he's questionable for this week's game too.
Well, I think there should be some pretty good games this week.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some good games. I think what's going to happen is we're going to see some good football on as far as this afternoon, and I think tomorrow. Because we're whittling down.
Whittling down, that's right.
We're whittling down to see on both professional and actually professional added a game, so they're actually going to go a lot longer this year. But the NCAA is whittling down. They got 3 games left, and I think what you're going to see is people are going to the differences are going to start showing up, and that's why the AP poll that we talked about earlier. I got a frog in my throat. Ribbit. It wasn't a duck this time.
It wasn't a duck.
It wasn't a duck. So, I mean, we'll see. Let's see how everything goes today. I think we're getting real close to it. And, hey, what websites and all do they need to go to?
Go to our website, thearmchairsports.com, and you can find all of our social. You can find where we are. Come and say hi on Facebook. Come and say hi on Twitter. We look forward to talking with you.
I tell you what, pretty good week this week. I went solo. Well, not solo. I had some help from the big man back there.
You're saying solo. God.
Yeah, well, I'm solo. You can't see him. Hey, that sounded good, didn't it? All right, guys. If you want to be a host, give us a holler at 229-262-8182. Give us a call. Maybe we can get you on the air. We'll circle back next week, guys. Have a good week.